Hey, Mackie Kyle here, day 5 of my review of The Go-Giver by Bob Burg and John David Mann. Excellent book. Again, I commend it to you. We've been looking at the 5 stratospheric laws of success that Burg and Mann outline in their book. And let me remind you of the first 4. The law of value. Your true value or worth is determined by how much you give in value than you take in payment. The law of compensation. Your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. Number 3, the law of influence. Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Number 4, the law of authenticity. The most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. And today, number 5, the law of receptivity. The key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. It's kind of counterintuitive, but I think you'll find out in just a minute what that means. So the last scene, we see Joe and Pindar having lunch, and Pindar kind of asks Joe what's going on in his mind, what he thinks of all of this, and Joe, you can tell, is wrestling with all this giving, and Joe says, so from childhood we were taught that it's better to give than to receive, and Joe says, right. And Pindar goes on to say, if you're a good person, that's what you do. You give. Good people give and don't think of receiving. But you, Pindar meaning Joe, you think about receiving all the time. You can't help it, which means you're probably not really a very good person. So why bother trying at all? All this giving stuff sounds great for other people, for people maybe like me or Nicole or Ernesto, but not for you. It's just not who you are. And Joe struck and in this moment of silence, and he comes to the realization that, yeah, that's me. That's exactly right. All I can think about is receiving. And Pindar says, it is not better to give than receive. It's insane to try to give and not receive. Trying not to receive is not only foolish, it's arrogant. When someone gives you a gift, what gives you the right to refuse it, to deny their right to give it? Receiving is the natural result of giving. If you give and then try to stop receiving, that comes back. You're like King Canute watching the tide roll out and commanding it not to come back. It has to come in, just as your heart has to contract after relaxing. Every giving can happen only because it is also a receiving. So we have all been conditioned with this concept that it's better to give than to receive. And that lack of willingness to receive is cutting off our lifeline and flow of success into our lives. He said all the giving in the world won't bring success, won't create the results you want, unless you also make yourself willing and able to receive in like measure. Because if you don't let yourself receive, you're refusing the gift of others. You shut down the flow. Because human beings are born with appetite, nothing more is naturally geared towards being receptive than a baby. And he talks about how an infant needs to be fed. So he says the secret to success, and Joe is summarizing what he has learned and heard from Pindar. So the secret to success, Joe went on, to gaining it, having it, is to give, give, give. The secret to getting is giving. And the secret to giving is making yourself open to receiving. And Pindar says, what would you call that law? And Joe said, the law of receptivity. Pindar says, perfect. So it's important to give, but it's also important to be able to receive, the law of receptivity. So I hope you found this review of this book. It certainly doesn't do it justice. I encourage you to get this book and read it. It's an excellent book. It gives you a lot of things to think about. And these 5 laws are absolutely paramount to one who is extremely successful in his or her field, and relationships, anything in life in general. So I hope you found these 5 videos helpful. Again, my name is Mackie Kyle, and I encourage you to comment on the videos below and to share and like those. And again, above all else, I wish you great success.